Are you a single woman who's been living her very best life? Girl, me too. Get in here. Welcome to Empowered by Her Picket Fence. I'm Stephanie, and I'm not a celebrity or a social media influencer. I'm a single woman, a single mother, and a women's empowerment blogger. And it's time for us to come to the mic and let people know what's really good with single women. And you know this show is always going to keep it short and cute. So go grab that latte because we're about to get into it. What's up? What's up? Thank you for joining me this week because this week we are going to dive into the behaviors that will keep these guys on their toes. If you are out here right now in these dating streets and you have ever second guessed your date's behavior, I have the kryptonite, ladies. So keep listening. Today, we're going to talk about a tactic I only wish I had used in my 20s, and it's called benching. Have you guys heard of benching yet? All right, we're going to get into it today. So, you know, the dating game is crazy. And unfortunately, as women, we are on the receiving end of a lot of bad behavior from our so called options. Some of this nonsense we tend to take on the chin after a couple dates. But on the real, many of these clowns should have been removed from rotation much earlier. And that is where benching comes in. When someone is benched, it means we are pulling them out of rotation and putting them on the bench until they know how to act right. Because, first of all, we should be keeping our options open, right? To make sure we aren't settling. And that's why we need the bench in the first place. Let me give you an example of bad behavior. All right. So there was a restaurant, I don't even know if it's still open, in New York City in Lower Manhattan called La Izquierda. Now, La Izquierda, it was like a restaurant slash taco stand where if you went in the front, it was like the regular taco stand place, but there was a door that led to a whole different vibe, a whole second restaurant, candles, cool vibe, music's playing, you're chilling. It was a whole thing. And like, it's not something that everybody knew about, but if you knew, you knew. And I had never gone there, but I heard about it. And I was like, well, how do you even get back there? I didn't know if there was like a secret knock or like a password. All I knew is that I was dating someone and he was like, we're going to La Izquierda. So I was all in. All right. So we go, have the best time. It's a whole vibe. I'm chilling. Conversation's good. Then he's like, where are we going next? And I'm like, oh, I'm about to grab a cab. If I don't know someone that well, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. That's just not happening. So I was like, yo, I'm out. And he had a full on meltdown. I was not prepared. Okay. He was upset. Well, why can't we do something else? Blah, blah, blah. It's going to ruin the whole evening. Sir, this evening is over. And he was put on the bench because he didn't know how to act. And of course, later on, he had another meltdown over something completely different, which I did not have time for. So, he was summarily dismissed eventually. But the problem is, and why I'm bringing this up, is that we keep guys that behave badly in play way longer than we should be, or maybe they even deserve sometimes. Like, I could have easily just like ended things there. Just that's a sign that you are all over the place when you're melting down over something so small when you're like 2 dates in. Like, what's it going to look like at date 20? That's how I'm thinking. Did I really need to keep him in play? Probably not. I probably should have just cut it off there. But, I was like, maybe he's having a bad night. But when you start off dating people, you are dating the best versions of them, the power wash version of these guys. And it's only later that you begin to see the cracks. However, in this situation, I did see some cracks early on. But in the meantime, we're bending over backwards as women trying to be perfect. And if we have dated them for a certain period of time, things actually start to get a little crazy and we start visualizing a future with them. We are thinking about the registry at Bloomingdale's or Neiman. Seriously, how many of you have looked at a guy after a couple of months and said, I think he's my guy? I'm telling the truth. Come to the front, come to the mic. Let me know. We need to keep an active bench with options so that we can always switch them out if they're not acting right. That's what I'm saying to everyone. even if the one guy is the main player, we need to make sure that we aren't redrawing our boundaries unnecessarily. And if he's not behaving, he can be switched out. And that's the bottom line. So I have 3 types of guys that you really need to keep your eye on that you might need to put on the bench. Number 1, Mr. Bad Boy. Classic case. All talk, no action, strong showing in the first quarter, and he later turns into a no-show. Definitely a candidate for the bench. Number 2, Mr. Misbehavior. Bad deeds on slow burn. He's been doing things every now and again that aren't quite right, and you can feel yourself sliding down on his priority list over time. Get him on the bench. It's not going anywhere. Trust me. And then last, there's Mr. Gray Area. He's a premium gaslighter who is subtly inconsistent. He gives you just enough attention so you keep hanging around and you don't walk away completely, but not quite enough where you actually feel like you're special. He's one of the worst. So he's definitely somebody that needs to be benched. Any one of these guys is a candidate for the bench, in my opinion. Let them know that you're not here for the nonsense and to give you a call when they get it together. The bottom line is they are dealing with a queen and they can like it or leave it. Either way, you put your cards on the table and he chooses if he wants to play with them. If he's genuinely interested, he will fight his way off the bench. And there is your game changer. There is the guy that might be worth hanging around for. There will always be the stubborn ones that refuse to compromise for a queen, but they stay on the bench and eventually get ejected from the game, right? And that is what they deserve. So ask yourself the question, who deserves to be on your bench? I have 3 empowerment moves for you. Number 1, keep your options open. Men do it all the time. Number 2, have clear boundaries. And number 3, bench the clowns ASAP. And on that note, it's time to get into girl, it's time to leave. Girl, it's time to leave when you are continually disappointed. How many of you have been disappointed in a relationship and you keep holding out, hoping that things are going to change? He's always letting you down. He never remembers things that are important to you. And although you love him, you know you're not getting what you need. I've been there. When you are continually disappointed and you have communicated your disappointments to your partner, it's up to him to decide whether he's going to acknowledge your disappointments or not, right? Because you can't control him. So if he continually disappoints you, he's basically saying that he's not interested in rising to the level where you might actually find happiness with him. And in that case, girl, it's time to leave. All right, guys, meet me right back here next week. And don't forget to hit that follow button and leave a review. And tell all your friends because the single girls just got the mic.